Hi. How's everybody doing? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. This is going to be an interesting, a little bit more interactive talk. I'm Mike, and I'm from Intuit. We've got a couple other people who are going to introduce themselves. I'll do a more formal introduction. We'll have probably more Q&A than you're accustomed to, and probably quite a bit of tomfoolery while we're up here. This is a little bit of a different problem and use case that you would usually find in a Twilio conference. So I'm going to go ahead and take this clicker out of my pocket and click the next button. So I'm Michael Moore. I'm the product leader for service operations at Intuit. That's relatively meaningless for most of you because it's just a title. We have a $350 million call center business with 30,000 distributed employees. That means we have to send them laptops. We have to make sure that they're on secure connections. We have workforce management software, and we have telephony and contact platforms that connect them to our customers. And all of that data, of course, having tax information and PII has to be very secure. I manage those product managers and very grateful and humbled to have an awesome working team. And Kat is actually one of those team members, and so is Girish. Kat, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Catherine Meyer. I work as a senior product manager on Michael's team in the service operations wing at Intuit.
Hi, my name is Girish. Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm a senior engineer at Intuit, and I build contact center applications. And this solution, what we are going to talk today, it's designed and architected by me.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Girish is pretty cool. I'm just going to say that right now. Also, Girish won the Twilio Studio contest. Humble bragging for him. He's a very humble guy. So let me talk a little bit about Intuit. I get paid to kind of pitch the company. And anyone looking for a product management job, I'm sorry, Twilio people, but I'm always hiring. So Intuit is a consumer, small business, and self-employed platform. And we have historically been an old SKU-based desktop software company. It's obviously not the most sexy thing in the world, but over the last 10 years, we've made a transition to the cloud, which is very kind of blasé to say. But over the last 2 years, we've been on a different journey. We have 4 core brands in our portfolio. We have 20 locations around the world in 9 countries, and right now we're about $6 billion in revenue. We have around 50 million customers. Our future over the next 5 years is actually moving to a 2-sided network. How does that make any sense at all? Well, the analog I like to use is Lyft because they're really cool and they're some of my favorite people. We need to be able to match financial expertise with customers. And so for a long time, you've gone and done your taxes yourself. Last year, we started doing what we call as you go. And this is actually tax advice from a certified public accountant or enrolled agent who will get on the phone with you and give you the confidence that you're doing your taxes right. This year, we're also going to be launching a new offering that's going to allow someone to help you do your taxes at the end of the filing and review that filing. So this 2-sided network really requires a lot of relationship between a customer and an expert. And this is the purpose of our workforce platform. Now, all of that is having us have an expectation that things are going to work as intended. Last night, I was at the Revolution in the Mission, and they have on the first Mondays classical group. It's usually about 5 or 6 people who play the violin and the cello, and all of them in concert work very effectively, very much like our technologies in the call center space or contact center space. The second that somebody plays a wrong note, you know that because you're in a very small setting and shit starts to fall apart. Oh, sorry, there's $1. My daughter's going to charge me $1 for that, sorry. And this is actually, this is one of those stories where we are always thinking that we're okay, that our customers are okay, that they're going to be able to reach us. And this love story that we're going to tell you, and I'm going to hand off to Kat, is much more about when things go wrong when you least want them to go wrong. So before I close on that, this is the we're a big company thing. We really are a big company, and when it comes to taxes and helping people, we're doing 41 million customer returns. We have 5.6 million contacts and 4.5 million phone calls. So we're taking in a ton of volume, and we have tons of agents distributed everywhere. Kat? going to hand this off to you.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Michael.
Yep.
Awesome. So now that Michael gave you some context into it and the importance of our customers, I'm going to take you through a little bit of a journey for what we call our Super Bowl. So how many football fans in here? Hopefully some. All right, I'm from
Lots
the
of
East
hands.
Coast, so go Patriots. Have to plug that in. So for us, our customers are the most important thing. And so April 15th for us is the biggest day of the year. We have everybody in the company, all hands on deck, answering phones, calling, making sure that our customer experience is really delivering on that promise that we say. And this is just an example of a room full of people ranging from VPs to marketers, all contributing to making sure that that experience is seamless. So starting off, this day is so important for a number of different reasons, but from our customer standpoint, they're really just looking to get their taxes in. They're scared, they don't know if they have everything that they need, and they just want to know that they can contact us and that we can give them the answers that they need to get everything in on time and they can move forward. So, as you guys know, the tax space is super cyclical, so our business on a day like today or a day in January is drastically different than on April 15th. So those numbers there are real. We have 30 times the amount of people contacting us on April 15th and almost 800 times the amount of people filing returns with us. So it's a huge day, and we need to make sure that on that day that we are Super Bowl ready. We got the footballs, they're all inflated, and we're ready to serve our customers. So with that, you would hope that we have visibility and we're able to walk in our customers' shoes. So how many people have called any type of company and had a horrible phone experience?
All the hands are raising.
All the hands are up, right? So imagine that it's tax day and you don't know if you have all the right forms, and you're sitting at home and you're like, oh, all right, I just need to get this through. And let's see if this works. This is what you hear. Yes, so we actually wanted that to play, and that is actually what our customers heard, and that was a recording that we used through Twilio. So, wow, not a great experience at all. And so we learned very early on in season that we really needed to make sure that we knew what was happening and that we could actually action it in a really efficient way. And so we realized quickly that manually calling was obviously not going to help us out, especially when we had the volume of customers that we had and the amount of lines that we needed to serve. And so we really needed a way to emulate the experience, to do that at scale, to validate, hey, people are getting connected, they're talking with the right person, they're not hearing that, because nobody likes that, and that we're able to actually record that and share it out so we can escalate things quicker. Now, here's the catch. As you guys all know, in the tech space, you need to move quickly. And so we needed to develop something that we could, launch in a matter of weeks rather than months. And so we needed something fast, scalable, and super secure. And that is where Twilio came in. And so I kind of grounded you guys in what we needed to build and why it was so important. And now I'm going to pass it over to Girish, who's going to bring you through the meat of the presentation, which is how we use Twilio to build a synthetic call monitoring.
Thank you, Kat. Okay, before I start, a quick survey. How many of you know how Studio works?
That's a lot of hands.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
second question, right? How many of you know how Autopilot works?
A
Okay,
little less hands.
I see,
All
Amy.
right.
okay. Yeah, let me start. Basically, the key technologies used in this solution are Studio, Autopilot, functions. That's it, right? And this is, I will first explain the test case, what exactly is automated. We get a customer call to Intuit IVR system, and then the customer is presented with these options. Press 1 for TurboTax, press 2 for QuickBooks, and the flow we have automated is TurboTax, and we select TurboTax, and then it will ask you, is it TurboTax US or TurboTax Canada? Then we say TurboTax US, and then what happens is one of these two things happen. If it is hours of operation, then it is expected that the call should be routed to the live expert, and if it is after hours of operation, the message, we are currently closed, please leave a voice message after the beep, right? We expect this message to be played to the customer, right? And now, as you can see here, the checkpoints in this test case is basically we want to make sure the IVR system is playing the correct prompts, and if it is hours of operation, that's if the call is made during hours of operation, we want to make sure that the call is routed to a live expert, and if it is after hours of operation, we want to make sure that we play that message to the customers so that they can call back during business hours, right? And now, what we have done is, before I go to the next slide, I want to tell you something important here, right? Now, the trigger point here, that is the customer call simulation, it is done using a Twilio phone number. We have bought one number, and that's what we use in our framework. And basically, the Twilio phone number is playing customer in this case. And now everything is built using Studio Flow. We make a call to Intuit 800 number, then we capture the speech. The speech in this case is the IVR prompts. And then we capture that and we set it as variables, basically the key value pairs. It is a multi-level IVR system. At every level, we have key values. What was, example, at the main menu, what was the prompt that came up? And at every IVR level, we capture that. And now if it is hours of operation, the call will be routed to an expert, and typically the expert would greet customers like, good morning, how can I help you with? And these kind of things, and we capture that also. And what we do is basically we send these the variables what we captured to Autopilot. What Autopilot does here is basically we have created an assistant using Autopilot. In Autopilot, we have multiple intents created, one intent for every IVR level, IVR menu level. Now what Autopilot returns is basically it would tell us what were the intents that were invoked at every IVR level. We write, now let me go to the next slide, right? Now this is how the Studio workflow looks like, and this is, as you can see, this is combination of different Studio widgets. Basically, we invoke this workflow with a REST API post call. And what we send as part of the REST API post call is to number, that is Intuit IVR toll-free number, and the from number, that's the number we have bought on Twilio platform. And we make a call, and as you can see, the very first widget, I hope the laser works, but sorry. Sorry.
Preview.
No, it's very
invisible laser.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know what? Actually, the widget you are seeing below call Intuit 800, it's a widget. It is make outgoing call. All it is doing is basically it is making a call to Intuit IVR system. After that, as you can see, we have our first gather widget, and what it is doing is it is gathering the speech of IVR system, basically which says welcome to Intuit. Press 1 for TurboTax, press 2 for QuickBooks. That prompt speech recognition is happening, and at that time, we use this set variable widget, and we create a key value. We say IVR level 1, this was the speech that was captured. And we do that throughout the IVR interaction, and finally, we use the widget, say widget, and it says agent. When the simulator says agent, what our IVR system does is basically it would route the call to a live expert, live agent. And that time, when agent says, oh, welcome to Intuit, how can I help you with? That greeting message is also captured. And now we make call to Autopilot with these set of key value pairs, and it would tell us if the right intent was invoked at every level, right? That's what exact. And eventually, now let me go to the actual architecture, right? Okay, this is the architecture. The top block, what you're seeing basically, it is Intuit AWS Cloud, and all we have there is basically, we have a Lambda function. that would invoke Intuit hours of operation service, which would tell us for a given toll-free number, what are the hours of operation, right? We get the hours of operation for a toll-free number, and then we make a REST API call to Studio workflow. That's what you're seeing. Now, let's get to the bottom workflow. That's exactly we discussed in the previous slide. As you can see, we are making a call to number from number, and the from number is the Twilio number, and the to number is Intuit 800 number, right? And then, as you can see in the next block, we are making sure whether we are checking if our contact center is open or closed. If it is business hours, it should be open. If it is after hours, it should be closed. And as you can see, we are making call to Twilio autopilot, and also at the same time we are also making use of Twilio function. Basically, what Twilio function does is we make double check. We look for certain keywords in the speech by our IVR system, and also based on the example, if it is after business hours, there will be keywords like, unfortunately, our center is closed now. We make sure that it's not only the IVR speech, but also we look for certain keywords. And then when we do all this, we write all these results into DynamoDB, that is back to our Intuit AWS cloud. And now we have another Lambda function running. It's a scanner Lambda. All it does is basically, it would parse through all the records in the DynamoDB table, and it would analyze the results. And the results is then published into our dashboard, which in our case is Wavefront. And we categorize results into 3 buckets. Green means the last 2 synthetic tests passed. Yellow means one of the tests failed. Red means both the tests failed, right? And this is the architecture. And now I will have Kat talk about the outcomes.
All right, so his diagram shows the dashboard all green. Not the case. So this is just a snapshot. You can see the 2 boxes in the left comprise about 50% of our traffic. So think about some of the numbers that I shared. A lot of people were getting failures similar to the one that I played earlier. And so with Twilio, we were able to visualize this and put this on display across the different rooms on tax day with various people, and we were able to actually have that visualization and automatic monitoring going on in the background for us, which was huge. And this drove some really significant outcomes that we're super excited to share. So the first is the way that we measure incidents. There's several ways, but one of the metrics that we use is called time to detect, and that's basically from the start of when an incident happens to when we're actually able to know that it's going on and solve it. So I showed a couple tweets earlier. Obviously, when you're waiting on a customer to tweet at you or let you know another way, it takes hours. When you have something like Girish set up and you get those results in within 10 minutes, you're able to detect those issues way sooner. And so when you take the volume that we had on April 15th and you say, wow, there was an outage that was impacting 30% of the people that were calling us, being able to detect it in under 10 minutes versus 4 hours allowed us to help tremendously larger amount of customers. Which is huge for us. In addition, reducing that incident management time was also a huge cost savings for Intuit, which is another bonus. But really being able to help our customers and be proactive and let the comms team know, hey, this is going on versus them letting us know. So really huge outcomes, and this is just the start of our relationship in using Twilio. Mike kicked us off with our love story, so this is just the start of the Twilio love, and we're super excited to use the platform and the features to move across our business. It actually was the day after this happened. True story, we were asked to basically, now you can add 100 more lines for other business units, right, in a day. And so we actually were able to do that, which was pretty cool. So we're super excited for the future and where this can take us. And we left a lot of time because we're really curious to hear your guys' questions. So we're going to kick it over to Q&A, and then you can ask us all the hard stuff. Yeah, before we do Q&A, there's one poke that I want to give, and I'm not going to name names, but when you have a recording
and you have all of those pieces that help create your contact center platform, no one says, oh, it was me, dog. It was my bad. They all say, it was not me. And when you have the recording of a particular large company who is a telco provider giving an error code, and you play that back to them and have the recordings, and it tells you which switch number it was, well, it makes it pretty obvious that it was part of their problem and not part of your telephony system. And that's incredibly important when you're trying to do root cause analysis, to be able to point back to who it was responsible for that. And in this particular case, again, not naming any names, there were some other providers who had some challenges at the time that this happened. And so we kind of got hit with a 1-2 punch, and we were able to hold those providers accountable very quickly. They were able to do things like throttle bandwidth and help us out and help bring us back online and restabilize the platform. None of that would have been possible without having this synthetic monitoring capability that was powered by Twilio. So let's do some Q&A. Yeah?
All right.
It's my favorite part here.
Don't all jump at once.
Yeah, please. There's microphones strategically placed around the room, ready for you
Are
to
there?
stand up, ask questions, be proud.
So what's your contact center platform today?
That's a great question. So right now, our contact center platform is Amazon Connect. That's a tough question in a Twilio conference. We love Twilio, and it was a timing issue. We were very interested in working with Twilio, and I think it's a relationship that we plan on building out in the future.
Yeah, and was there a budget consideration around building this yourself on Twilio versus someone like Empirix or Sierra or the other market leaders?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually had another monitoring tool, one that you named, and we were not able to get it to do what we wanted. The changes that we make in our IVR system are frequent, and they also include things like marketing upsells, and there's a lot of fluidity within our IVR platform. And those platforms could not do what Girish's synthetic monitoring system could do, with being able to take intents and being able to map those back to things like those marketing offers and then bypass those prompts with DTMF and dial tone. So
Yeah, and also I can add, that's a great question. I did evaluation of Empirix, Sierra, and then before deciding on Studio. And basically, if you look at Sierra, there is a lot of setup that need to be done on-premise, and like Mike mentioned, there is no AAML aspect to that. And also, we wanted to actually listen to the live expert if they're actually talking to the customer or not. Those aspects are missing with other competitors. And also, we wanted to go with pay-as-you-use model, and I think that's why Studio was a good choice. Yeah, and also we don't have to use some other service to check the audio quality and all that. Now, in the next iteration, we are using Twilio Insights to check the call quality and all that. Yeah, it would be complicated with other. That's what I think. Yeah.
I'll just add one thing, a little plug for Amy, our rep. We were also able to use Studio, which was huge. Speed was one of the things that I mentioned. And so we were able to stand this up in a matter of weeks, which was a lot different scope compared to some of the other solutions that we looked at. And having the support and being able to have the documentation get onboarded really quickly and have something that was scalable in that speed was another reason that we went with Twilio.
yes. So we had an IVR monitoring tool in place, but it was not functional for us. Yeah, it was meeting.
Premise-based?
No, it was one of the ones that was mentioned before. Yeah. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus because I always get phone calls afterward. It's awkward,
Hey guys.
Any other questions?
Yeah, thanks for a really interesting session. So
I know you, Gotham. Yeah.
just a few questions. So you mentioned 4.5 million calls. Was that call volumes for the year or just for that tax season?
What was the question?
The
Sorry, I'm gonna make you
about the
ask
volume
again.
of calls.
million calls.
It's for the tax season.
Yeah.
It's just for that 30-day period?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Well, the tax season is actually it's like 3 seasons, like a preseason and then like a, like warm up, and then it's like the real season. So we have October 15th, we have the January period, and then we have April 15th, which I'm always a part of that one.
Got it. And then what is the source of fluidity in your IVR? You're doing a lot of testing around it, and clearly there were issues, but typically what was it that was introducing those changes that were leading to breakages?
Yeah, so I think the primary reason that we make a lot of changes in the IVR is, I think many of the people in here are familiar with the concept of containment, right? So as we get into a busier time of year, we need to make sure that A, we're making more money with potential upsells and marketing, and then also containing the contacts that are coming in. For example, password resets should not be taking away valuable time when we have a single button push that's going to actually send them back that content. But when those things are instituted, there's change management journeys that we all go on, and sometimes we may not know about that, and so having an automated system that catches those changes that are deployed to IVR is really critical.
Got it.
It's a great question.
And I'll ask maybe two more very greedily. Are you recording 100% of your calls?
Say that again?
Are you recording 100% of your calls?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, actually, I think that question is the contact center technology we are using.
Right.
In case of, we use Amazon Connect, and we record most of the calls, except some calls where we have GDPR compliance,
Yeah.
and where customers say we don't record our recordings, and we don't record those call recordings. Otherwise, we record the calls, and also we redact calls.
So you redact too, and
Yeah.
what technology do you use?
It's a in-house. Sorry.
Simulated calls or all?
Oh no, the customer calls. Yeah, you were referring to the
I was
customer.
referring to customer calls. And,
The simulated calls are also recorded.
Yep.
and I think you answered the second part of that question. So you do redaction, but I didn't get what technology you were using for redaction.
Oh, it's an in-house technology that I created for redaction, and
Okay.
it's FFmpeg. It's an open source library.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then maybe one last
Don't
question.
hire him, please.
I'll
He's mine.
apologize.
Interview.
So you did depth of synthetic testing. Did you do scale as well, like concurrency of calls?
Yes, and that's the crazy thing about Twilio is being able to, so there was one picture that she showed back in the deck that had a whiteboard. That was us, and I say us, it was about 10 people gathered around with 2 cell phones each that they borrowed from their friends. We were actually checking Twilio, so we were QAing Twilio. Twilio was placing around 1,000 calls every 3 minutes at that time, which in a concurrency world, we probably only have around 10 or 12,000 concurrent calls at our busiest moment ever. And so this is really one of those things where you can scale up a single number, multiplex calls, until you basically crash your call center technology if you want it.
Yeah.
And that's we found that to be very powerful because we just can't humanly place that many calls.
Yeah, this was very interesting and educational content. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person has to have 6 questions.
He wrote all this down. He's so organized.
Sorry to disappoint. I only have one question.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've made a lot of mentions about how your call centers and their technologies work, along with basically how you probe the IVR for difficulties and all of that. And what I'm really wondering is how you guys kind of test how they're routed to the different agents in the different departments. And what I'm saying is, with TurboTax, you have different specialists within that handle like certain types of taxes,
Yep.
like small business owners, just your standard employees of a standard job, the self-employed. How do you manage those call flows so that they're routed to where they're supposed to be, and so that you're not overbearing some agents due to a glitch?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I'm going to tell you a little story real quick. I have 53 seconds to do it. We have an office of the president, so if you call and you're pissed off and you want to talk to our CEO, you will eventually get to him. One of the escalations that we had previously was that someone got dead-ended. That means they got left in an IVR flow that really had no one to deliver them to. So one of the things that we set out to build last year was actually a system that Girish designed that actually goes through to each of our queues and delivers a call to the queue. We have to do it less frequently because we want to take away from the capacity of the call center teams, but we do actually have flows that test each one. And what it does is actually instructs the agent on the other end of the line or the expert to hang up, and then it will create a case in Salesforce. It will auto-close the case in Salesforce, and we're actually able to track if that happened or not. So that's kind of how we QA that. To answer your question?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we're about out of time now.
Clock's
Thank
going
you
up.
very much. The time is ticking up. This is scary. Really appreciate you having us and asking great questions and spending time, and happy to have you reach out and pester me or any of us after. Looking forward to talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.